How can you become a better trader? Well, I believe it all begins with goals. Today, I want to share with you my goals and how I'm able to earn a lot more money by setting goals. So stay tuned. I think you're really going to enjoy what I have for you. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. I do like to give a quick market update. With the market being down earlier this week, and today's kind of a mixed day. I believe the Dow is up, the Nasdaq's down a bit. S&P 500, I believe, is flat, and so is the Russell 2000. I think this is kind of should have been expected. I felt like the market was way overbought towards the end of last year, and I think a lot of people have just kind of reorganized their portfolios a little bit beginning of this year, and that's probably the main reason we're seeing a little bit of a downtrend at the beginning of 24. Long term, what do I think? I think we're going to have kind of a sideways year. I still think we're going to have a little bit of a correction in the first quarter. But then later in the year, I do believe we're probably going to get a good bounce. I still think the Fed's going to cut rates. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to do more than two or three cuts. A lot of people are thinking they may do as many as six. I think even Kathy Woods thinks they're potentially going to go back to 2 to 3% interest rates. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the economy is doing well enough that they're probably going to keep the rates higher, probably do 2 to 3 cuts. And my guess is starting in March or April. And when that happens, I do think we're going to get a bounce with the market. We may reach new highs, but we do have some headwinds. We still have issues. I believe employment is down a bit. I also think we could potentially still have some issues with the banks. And then we do have the potential government shutdown. I don't know if there will be a government shutdown, but the potential is there. So long term, again, I think we're probably going to have probably another up year, not as much as last year. A lot of people, and me included, wasn't expecting to have such a good year last year. I believe the Nasdaq was up like 20, 30, maybe even more. And a lot of people were pushing to get into cash, where actually, if you'd been in equities, you would have done a lot better. So, just wanted to add those 2 cents and just kind of give you my take. So, let's just jump in. Now, I've been on this journey to learn out how to sell options the right way. I've mentioned in previous videos that I've been selling options going back probably 12, 13 years. At first, I primarily just did covered calls. And about 3 years ago, I decided to kind of learn the right way to do it. Now, from the very beginning, I decided to set goals. I didn't overdo it. I didn't set huge goals. I set lower goals to begin with. I believe the first goals I ever set were back in 2020, and they were like, try to earn 1,000 a month selling options, and I was able to do that. This year, I've actually set up much higher goals. I actually set the goals I'm using now back in October when I set up this new IRA at Fidelity. And I'm going to talk about that at the end of the video. I'm going to actually share with you how I did each month last year, and when I set the goals, did I reach the goals? Did I not? But I think just having goals makes you a better investor. For me, it allows me to kind of focus where I need to focus, also to minimize risk. So as I'm trading, if I reach a goal, then I typically won't trade as much. I'll go on and do other things, So there's a lot that kind of helps you when you set the goal. So it's not necessarily, pie in the sky. These are, in my mind, fairly reachable goals. And I do several different types of goals. So I do premium goals. So I identify both on a weekly and a monthly. I set premium goals. Like currently, my goals are 1,600 a week or 6,400 a month, and that's all my accounts. And right now, I have quite a few accounts. And then I don't just set goals for premium for selling options, but I also set goals for my dividends, how much I want to earn interest wise, and then also what kind of returns I want to get with a lot of the stocks that I do own and that I look to pick up by running the wheel. Um, so that's also a key point. So I'm probably been a dividend investor going all the way back to the 80s. So options has only been really a part of my life the last couple of years. So one of my goals is just to improve on my ability to make these trades. So a lot of the goals also relate to setting new guidelines, identifying what works, what doesn't work. And I share all those things typically with my members. So let's take a quick second. As always, if you want to learn more about my memberships, I have details below. I have what I call the Investor Club, which you get access to my trades, you get access to all my spreadsheets, you also get access to to me where you can ask questions. Now, if you really need a more hand holding, you can do what I call the Traders Club, which includes a bit more. It also includes a weekly coaching call, which is typically around 15 to 30 minutes. I try to keep it under 30 minutes, but I enjoy the calls. I enjoy working with people. It also gives you access to Discord. And now I'm going to be doing group meetings. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do them weekly or twice a month. I'm thinking initially I'll do them twice a month, and at some point I'll be doing them weekly. So we'll have meetings with a number of traders, and then I'll share that with my investors club. So if you're curious and want to learn more, take a look below. And as always, hit that like button, subscribe. If you want to be notified when I have new videos, you can also check that too. So next, I want to kind of talk a little bit about my guidelines. So I haven't kept the same guidelines. You might be wondering, what am I talking about? Guidelines, things about how much risk I want to take. I typically use what's called delta. And for selling calls, I like to do a 20 delta. And I've adjusted that. So, and again, I'll show you details at the very end of the video, but I've upped it for ETFs, and I've also upped it when I'm running the wheel. And the same thing for puts. I also use delta for puts, and I'll use something along the lines of a 15 delta for a fully invested account that I have. Now, for the accounts that I'm running the wheel in, I'll take a bit more risk. I'll do closer to 30 and sometimes as high as 40 deltas when I'm running the wheel, especially if it's good companies that I want to invest in and I do want to own. So I've decided to do that. And the same thing with ETFs. I've taken a little bit more risk with ETFs because they don't move as much, and they're really, in my mind, a safer investment than an individual stock, quite a bit safer. I also have changed my DTEs, or how many days to expiration. I'm trying to keep the expiration shorter, trying not to go beyond 90 days, with the exception being covered calls. I will go farther out for covered calls, primarily because with covered calls, I'm just trying to double the dividend versus, trying to make a huge amount. I am trying to sell some covered calls that are more in the money just to see how that works on a weekly basis. But so far, I haven't had a whole lot of luck with that. So I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it. But what's so important with setting these goals and making these adjustments is to become a better trader. And by setting goals and then keeping track of them and comparing how you've done compared to your goals, it really does make you a better trader. It's allowed me to constantly be increasing the goals and realizing, I can have so much more passive income coming in through the dividends, through the premiums coming in from selling the options, and now through the interest. And now that the Fed has increased rates so much, with Fidelity, I'm getting 5%. And even with Schwab's made some changes in the brokerage accounts, and I'm earning much higher interest with them even. So, and that's become a bigger part of my potential income going forward. So in a way, I do want them to cut the rates, but I don't want them to go back to zero rates or 1 or 2% rates. I would prefer them to do 2 or 3 cuts later this year and be more like 4.5, to 4 to 4.5%. So next, let's jump into my goals, and I'll share with you a little bit more detail, and I'll also talk about my guidelines. So stay tuned. Let's go ahead and jump into the next part of the video. I've opened up this week's planning worksheet for any members that might be watching. This is the planning worksheet I released this past Sunday to my members, actually on Mondays, being that Monday was the new year. And it's just one of the tabs I've got in all my planning worksheets. The first tab is actual options that I'm managing. So you can see I've actually done some trades this week and closed some specific positions. Then is the checklist. These are the things I like to look at for particular companies that I want to own. And then here are the guidelines that I use for setting up the option trades, both the covered calls and the vertical put credit spreads and cash secured puts. And then here are the goals. Now, these goals I set back in October primarily because I opened up the new Fidelity IRA and moved my 401k money into that. So I upped the goals at that point. Before that they were 4,000 a month or 1,000 weekly, and I increased them to 6,400 on a monthly basis and 1,600 on a weekly basis. And then I also increased the dividend goals from 1,800 to 2,300 monthly, and that again was set back in October, so I wasn't expecting to reach that too quickly. I'm currently right at about 2,000 monthly in dividends, and I can share that at the very end of this video. I'll go into my account and show you what that looks like. And then the goal of growing the portfolio around 8% a year. Now, those are my current positions, or my current stocks and ETFs, hoping they would grow at least 8%, which I think is probably low. You'll see I'll change that below. And then these are just numbers based on my what my Social Security payouts would be. This I have not updated yet. It's still primarily like the 2046, the 2361. Those numbers were all pulled from my report last year from Social Security. So I do need to update that. But using these goals and the 6,400, this is what I look, from looking at it, what I could make on a monthly basis. So that was the 223 goals, again set in October. Now the goals I've just set in the last couple of days is, now I've kept the amount of cash that I'm trying to earn premium wise to 6,400 a month. The main reason for that is I've run into some issues with Fidelity. It's taken longer to move some of my accounts, and so I'm hoping they get moved within the next week or two, but I haven't been able to trade in one of my accounts until it gets moved over. They wanted an actual statement, and I don't really want to make trades while it's kind of in the process of being moved over. So I was kind of surprised it took as long as it did, but at this point I'm going to keep what I'm trying to earn 6,400 on a monthly basis, or 1,600. And again, part of that is because of Fidelity, and also part of that is because I haven't reached my goals quite as well as I did earlier in the year. Goal of increasing dividends from 3,000 to 3,300. Now, it's not just dividends, it's also interest. And currently I'm getting about 865 monthly. I think the last payment might have been closer to 890 just in interest. So I'm hoping to earn right around 2,900 on a monthly basis, or 3,000, or between 3,000 and 3,300 on a monthly basis with just dividends and income. And I think I could probably do that. I'm pretty close to 3,000 now. So can I get 3,300? I think there's a good chance. Next is the goal of growing the portfolio 12% versus 8%. And with last year being such a good year, I believe I got closer to 12% on the return on the different assets. Now, I do want to be able to pick up more stocks using the wheel. So recently I've started taking a little bit more risk with running the wheel, just so I could pick up more stocks that I feel like are bargains that are at a good price. And if I don't pick them up, at least I'm making more premium by taking a bit more risk. I think it's worth it. And then this is updated for the new amount. So they're a little bit higher, and it's primarily because of the interest. So you're talking, you can see once I retire, and I'm kind of retired now, I'm financially independent, but when I fully retire, this is what I could earn on a monthly basis. And actually, if you've watched some of my previous videos, this is like double what my budget is. So I might do considerably better in retirement than I do right now. But and some of this I might not spend, I might just reinvest it. So here's my actual 2023 results. So for December, I did reach it. I got 65.70. November, I did not. again, I'm shooting for 6,400. October I didn't. So on average, since I set these new goals of 6,400 on a monthly basis, I have not reached them on average for the last 3 months. Now before that, the goal was 4,000 on a monthly basis, and you can see here, 1 month I would meet it, the next month I wouldn't. So September I had 3,600, over 5,000 in August, didn't make it in July, didn't make it in June, had a good month in May, almost 4,500, didn't quite get to 4,000 in April, but got again close to 4,500 again. The main emphasis being that not every month is the same. So some months I do a bit more, and other months I do a bit less. February was just shy of 4,000, almost 3,850, and then January was right at 4,000. So, and on average, I've met my goal, which again was 4,000 on a monthly basis from the beginning of the year. So, and then notes about the October goals. It has taken me a while to get used to Fidelity. I've been working with Schwab so much that it's taken a little bit longer to kind of learn how to make the trades correctly in Fidelity. So what I'm doing, if you guys are interested, I'm moving all my retirement accounts to Fidelity, and I'm keeping all my brokerages at Schwab. And I'm actually set up now to use Thinkorswim with Schwab, and I'm going to probably be learning that interface here shortly. I haven't had much time to do that. Also, I spent a lot of time on the phone in the last 2 months trying to get higher interest with Schwab. Now, it's the brokerage side. I've been able to do that. They have made some changes that doesn't make it easier. But again, I have not been able to do that in the retirement accounts. And I actually was on the phone with them for quite a bit of time, and they actually tried to force it, and I still couldn't get it. I think they really have the retirement accounts code-wise really locked down. Again, I'm spread a bit thin with so many accounts. I have 6 accounts, and that gets a little bit tricky with trying to manage them all. I'm going to combine my IRAs all into one, so I will have fewer accounts at that point. Fidelity account has not moved yet. It's taking longer than expected, 3 weeks. Again, that has impacted my ability to make trades in that. And this is my Roth account in that particular account. Thought that doing fewer trades with more contracts on great companies might be better. So that's something I'm looking at. Maybe I should do 3 or 4 contracts, especially for great companies that are at bargain prices. And I did find it a little bit more difficult to trade during the holidays, just lack of time because of other commitments, but it's not really a complaint. I mean, again, the goal is to average these kind of returns. So along with that, I also updated my guidelines. So here, what I talked about, key guidelines for selling options, I'm doing a 15 delta for puts in a typically well-funded or invested account. And then I would do a 20 delta for good ETFs, again, in a funded or invested account. Then I would look at a 30 delta, potentially even higher, for running the wheel where I have plenty of cash in the account. And then change the amount of days I go. I typically try not to go beyond 90 days. And then some of these are all the same, good quality companies that I want to own. It all comes down to the companies. Picking the right companies is so critical. Companies that don't have outrageous PEs, are making money, don't have a lot of debt or no debt. I'd prefer no debt, and have year over year earnings or projections that look really good. So, another point I like to make is a lot of times I do turn cash secured puts into spreads if I can buy the put cheap. And I encourage anyone and everyone to do that. It's worked out really well for me. Let's jump down to the calls. So 20 delta, same thing. This is what I've done for a long time, but for anything related to the wheel, I'm looking at doing closer to a 30 delta. I do go farther out because my goal with calls is to double the dividend. So I will go as far as 120 days, and I will do leaps some too. I should probably mention that here. And then also to double the I mentioned about double the dividends. So, and that's worked out pretty well. Roll up and out if you can pick up premium. So, with any of these, if I want to own the stocks forever, so I say double the dividends, and that works out well. But I also want to always keep these stocks because the goal is to own good companies that I want to own forever. So, and that's worked out really well. So that's it. Those are the things I wanted to talk about, and how setting goals has really helped me to reach a much higher level with trading options. And it isn't just to get rich quick. It's slow and steady and taking your time to do it right. So if you have any comments, I typically try to answer all my comments. Please leave a comment. If you disagree with one way I'm doing this or have a better way, I'd really like to hear it. So thank you, and hope you're having a wonderful new year.